Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York City. He was the fourth of five children in the Trump family. His father, Fred Trump, was a wealthy real estate developer known for building affordable housing in New York's outer boroughs. From an early age, Donald showed signs of being strong-willed, energetic, and competitive. Due to behavioral issues in school, his parents sent him to the New York Military Academy when he was 13. There, he adapted to strict discipline and developed leadership skills, which would later define his public persona. After completing high school, Donald attended Fordham University for 2 years before transferring to the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. He earned a degree in economics in 1968 and immediately joined his father's business, the Trump Organization. Although he started in the family firm, Donald had bigger dreams. He set his sights on Manhattan, believing that success meant building iconic, large-scale projects that could make his name known far beyond New York. In the 1970s and 80s, Donald Trump rose to fame by taking bold risks in the real estate market. He used aggressive deal-making tactics and leveraged his connections to win city contracts and financing. One of his first major deals was the renovation of the run-down Commodore Hotel into the luxurious Grand Hyatt. But his most iconic project was Trump Tower, a luxury skyscraper completed in 1983 on Fifth Avenue. Trump Tower became a symbol of his ambition and brand, a mix of wealth, power, and showmanship. As Trump's empire expanded, he ventured into casinos in Atlantic City, including the Trump Plaza and Trump Taj Mahal. These ventures were flashy but heavily financed through debt, which led to multiple bankruptcies in the 1990s. Trump also purchased an airline, a yacht, and even attempted to buy NFL teams. Despite some failures, he managed to maintain his public image, in part due to his ability to turn himself into a brand. He licensed his name to dozens of products, from bottled water to clothing lines, and promoted himself as a symbol of success. In the 2000s, Trump became a full-blown celebrity. His reality TV show, The Apprentice, debuted in 2004 and became a hit. The show featured him as a tough, no-nonsense businessman judging aspiring entrepreneurs. His catchphrase, "You're fired," became a pop culture phenomenon. Trump's popularity grew, and he became a fixture on television and in tabloid headlines. His name became associated with luxury, even as many of his business ventures quietly failed behind the scenes. Throughout the years, Trump flirted with politics. He criticized politicians, spoke out on national issues, and hinted at presidential ambitions as early as the 1980s. However, it wasn't until June 2015 that he formally announced his candidacy for President of the United States. His campaign was unconventional from the start. He spoke bluntly, broke political norms, and promised to make America great again. He focused on immigration, trade, and restoring jobs, appealing to voters who felt left behind by the political establishment. Despite widespread skepticism and media criticism, Trump won the Republican nomination. He defeated seasoned politicians and faced former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in the 2016 general election. With a strong base of support, strategic use of social media, and unexpected victories in key swing states, Trump won the Electoral College and became the 45th President of the United States. His presidency was one of the most controversial and eventful in modern history. Early on, he enacted a series of executive orders, including a travel ban targeting several Muslim-majority countries. He pushed for immigration reform, tax cuts, and deregulation of businesses. One of his biggest legislative victories was the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which significantly reduced corporate taxes. In foreign policy, Trump took a bold and unpredictable approach. He withdrew the United States from international agreements such as the Paris Climate Accord and the Iran nuclear deal. He imposed tariffs on China, starting a trade war aimed at protecting American industries. Trump also became the first sitting U.S. president to meet with a North Korean leader, holding historic summits with Kim Jong-un, although no lasting agreements were reached. Domestically, Trump faced constant criticism for his rhetoric and polarizing style. He frequently attacked the media, called out political opponents on social media, and stirred controversy with his statements. His administration implemented strict immigration policies, including a zero-tolerance policy that resulted in family separations at the southern border. However, supporters praised him for focusing on national interests, boosting the economy, and taking a strong stance on law and order. In 2019, Trump was impeached for the first time by the House of Representatives on charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The Senate later acquitted him. Then came the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, which dramatically changed the course of his presidency. His handling of the pandemic drew criticism for downplaying the virus early on and clashing with health experts. At the same time, his administration worked to fast-track vaccine development and provided financial relief packages to Americans and businesses. In the 2020 election, Trump faced Democratic challenger Joe Biden. Amid a highly polarized atmosphere and record voter turnout, Biden won both the popular vote and electoral college. Trump refused to concede, claiming widespread voter fraud without providing evidence. These claims fueled months of tension and culminated in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters. In response, the House of Representatives impeached Trump for a second time, accusing him of inciting an insurrection. Again, he was acquitted by the Senate. After leaving office in January 2021, Trump remained a dominant figure in American politics. He continued to hold rallies, endorse candidates, and shape the Republican Party in his image. He launched his own social media platform and frequently criticized the Biden administration. Despite numerous legal investigations, Trump announced his candidacy for the 2024 election, becoming the first former president in modern times to seek a return to power. In a historic twist, Trump won the 2024 election, defeating Joe Biden and beginning his second term in January 2025. He quickly moved to reverse many of the previous administration's policies. His second term focused on domestic energy production, cutting federal spending, and reshaping the federal government. He also pushed for tough crime policies and continued to challenge global institutions. The early months of his second presidency showed a continuation of his bold, direct, and confrontational leadership style. Throughout his life, Donald Trump has been a figure of relentless ambition, controversy, and reinvention. He has been a real estate mogul, television star, and now a two-time president. His legacy is deeply divided, praised by some for challenging the status quo and delivering economic growth, criticized by others for undermining democratic institutions and promoting division. As Donald Trump settled into his second term in office in 2025, it became clear that his leadership style had not changed. It had only intensified. With a Republican-controlled Congress supporting many of his initiatives, Trump began swiftly pushing through policies aimed at reshaping America's future according to his vision. One of his earliest priorities was securing the southern border. His administration resumed large-scale construction of physical barriers and ramped up enforcement operations. He also increased funding for border patrol, immigration courts, and deportation systems, promising to crack down harder on illegal immigration. In the economic arena, Trump's administration pursued aggressive tax and regulation cuts to stimulate domestic growth. He emphasized America First policies, providing tax breaks to companies that brought manufacturing jobs back from overseas. While some economists criticized the long-term sustainability of his approach, supporters credited him for reducing unemployment and reviving traditional industries in several states. On the international front, Trump reasserted U.S. dominance through a combination of diplomacy and economic leverage. He imposed stricter trade deals, demanding better terms for American businesses, and reduced foreign aid to countries he believed were not supporting U.S. interests. Relations with allies remained tense, particularly in Europe, as Trump continued to pressure NATO members to increase their defense spending. However, he also brokered new bilateral trade agreements in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, appealing to his promise of fairer trade for American workers. At home, Trump tackled issues like homelessness, drug addiction, and crime with controversial but direct approaches. He signed executive orders that expanded policing powers, increased mandatory minimum sentences for certain crimes, and sent federal officers into crime-heavy cities, sparking debate over states' rights versus federal authority. His administration also launched a nationwide crackdown on organized crime and fentanyl trafficking, citing public safety and national security concerns. In education, Trump promoted school choice, increasing funding for charter schools and voucher programs. He advocated for reducing the influence of federal agencies in local school districts and emphasized patriotic education, a program designed to instill traditional American values and pride in the country's history. Critics labeled this an attempt to rewrite history, but his base embraced it as a corrective measure to what they saw as left-wing bias in public education. Healthcare reform remained a challenge. Trump's administration attempted once again to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act with a new system centered around private insurers, health savings accounts, and expanded telemedicine. Although the effort faced legislative hurdles, he succeeded in removing key mandates and penalties that had previously frustrated many citizens.
One major shift during Trump's second term was his increased use of executive orders and presidential authority. He often bypassed Congress when possible, citing gridlock and political obstruction. This approach drew both legal challenges and admiration, depending on political perspective. Supporters saw him as a decisive leader taking action where others hesitated, while opponents warned of growing authoritarianism. By mid-2026, Trump's administration was dealing with new global tensions, a flare-up in Eastern Europe, worsening U.S.-China relations, and increasing instability in the Middle East tested his foreign policy skills. He responded with strength, deploying military forces as deterrents and initiating high-level talks with rival nations. He also increased funding for military modernization and cyber defense, promising to keep America safe in a rapidly changing world. Domestically, cultural divisions continued to grow. Trump remained active on his social media platform, frequently sharing unfiltered thoughts on ongoing issues. His commentary stirred passion among his followers while intensifying polarization across the country. Protests, counter-protests, and political clashes became common in many cities. Yet through it all, Trump maintained a strong, loyal support base that believed he was restoring America's strength, values, and independence.
As Trump approached the end of his second term in 2028, speculation swirled about who would succeed him. With term limits preventing him from running again, attention shifted to his children, especially Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka Trump, both of whom had gained significant influence in conservative circles. Rumors of a possible Trump political dynasty began circulating, with Trump himself teasing endorsements and future political plans. Despite endless controversies, investigations, and criticism from the media, Trump left an indelible mark on American politics. He redefined the Republican Party, turning it into a more populist, nationalist movement. He altered the way campaigns were run, using direct communication with voters, largely through social media, to bypass traditional channels. He showed that a political outsider could win, and win big, by speaking directly to people's frustrations and offering bold, simple solutions.
Historians and political analysts continue to debate Trump's legacy. Some see him as a necessary disruptor, someone who exposed the weaknesses of the political elite and gave a voice to the forgotten middle class. Others argue he weakened democratic institutions, undermined trust in the media and electoral system, and fueled division in the nation. Whatever one's perspective, it's undeniable that Trump reshaped the political landscape and forced America to confront long-standing issues around identity, economy, and governance. Outside of politics, Trump's personal brand remained strong. He expanded his real estate holdings, wrote more books, and launched new business ventures. His family, too, remained in the public eye, participating in media projects, charity events, and political commentary. His Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida became a hub of conservative strategy and influence, often referred to as a shadow White House. By 2030, Donald Trump had become not just a former president, but a political symbol. For some, he represented American pride, strength, and independence. For others, he stood for division, nationalism, and controversy. But one thing is certain, his story is far from over.
As Trump himself often said, "I don't believe in small dreams. If you're going to be thinking anyway, you might as well think big." That philosophy drove every chapter of his life, from real estate and television to the White House. Whether celebrated or condemned, Donald J. Trump's impact on America and the world will be studied, debated, and remembered for generations.